This is the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We will call this Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. It's Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. It is 9 o'clock or a couple of minutes after. We see here, due to the COVID-19, this meeting is conducted under Waupaca County Resolution Number 8, 2020-2021, and the Governor Everett Emergency Order Number 1. Roll call, please.
Vasquez.
Here.
Boyer. Here. Craig Mary. Here. Craig Patricia. Here. Ellis.
Here.
Bedowitz.
Here.
Golding. Here. Hardy.
Here.
Hardy. Yeager. Johnson.
Here.
Keppen.
Here.
Kussman.
Here.
Lear. Here. McClone.
Here.
Morak.
Here.
Muck.
Here.
Murphy Gerald.
Here.
Murphy Terry.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Nygaard.
Here.
Pullman. Here. Ritchie.
Here.
Rowan. I believe Dick's having some problems connecting, so. Spearings.
Here.
Wengelski.
Here.
Will.
Here.
Zog.
Here.
We have 24 members present. I believe we'll have at least one jumping on yet.
Lord Wagon, has the open meeting statement been legally fulfilled?
It has.
Thank you. Please stand for a moment of silent meditation and then followed by our pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
I'm just verifying. Okay, and let the record reflect that Supervisor Hardy and Supervisor Rowan have attended via Zoom now. So we have all 27 members now.
Thank you. Okay, we need a approval of our agenda this morning. There's a motion by.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have to amend the agenda if the committee allows. To move items, we are going to move item 9. I'm sorry, let me get it right. 9C before 7 so that we can present our award in the beginning. We're also going to remove the word adoption from items 9A, and we're striking 10A, the appointment of the CDBG closed committee that will be handled at the next meeting if the body will amend the agenda as stated.
Move to agenda, Craig. Move to agenda. Move to amend the agenda.
The motion by Supervisor Craig to amend the agenda, and the second by Mr. Gerald Murphy. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we need a motion to approve the agenda as amended. The motion by Mr. Zog and the second by Supervisor Craig. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That motion is carried.
Thank you.
We need to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 18th, 2020. Motion by Supervisor Lair, the second by Supervisor Nygaard. Any questions or discussion regarding that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is approved. Minutes are approved. Okay, now we'll go down to, as we just amended, 9C.
I see, yes.
Sheriff Wills. You can come forward and take some photos. That's fine.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, board members. Thank you for moving the agenda up for us so we can get this completed. Here I am again today, standing before you to recognize two brave individuals for a life-saving award. And what I'm going to do is just read a general synopsis of the call here, and I'm sure you'll have a clear understanding of why we're giving this award out. On Thursday, August 6, 2020, about 3:57 p.m., a car eastbound left the roadway along County Highway X at the Wolf River Bridge in the town of Waupaca, County of Waupaca. The car entered the river and began to sink and drift downstream. The actions of two individuals saved the lives of a woman and toddler who were inside the sinking vehicle. Zachary Schindel of New London was riding his motorcycle on Broadway Street at County Highway X when he saw a cloud of dust. He heard a bystander say a car just went into the river. Schindel entered the river and used a rock to break the back window of the car. Schindel got the woman and child out of the car. Schindel swam away from the car with both. Tony Tamaro of Manawa was traveling west on County Highway X, approaching the Wolf River Bridge, and he saw a large splash alongside the bridge. Tamaro went into the water with Schindel. After Schindel broke the window, Tamaro swam to the shore with the mother, while Schindel swam to the shore with the child. Tamaro held the mother at a log alongside the shoreline until the sheriff's office arrived and assisted with getting the mother to shore. Schindel handed the child off to the other bystanders at the shoreline. Bystanders cared for the child until first responders arrived. Gold Cross ambulance transported the mother and the child to the hospital as precautionary measures. The hospital evaluated and released both. Without the quick actions of these two gentlemen, Tony and Zach, this would have been an absolute fatality. The car had actually went downstream about 75 yards and easily sunk. In fact, if this car would have sank without anyone seeing it, we still today would not know that there's a car out. So, me, the sheriff's office, and all the citizens of Waupaca appreciate the bravery of these two gentlemen, Zach and Tony. Now I'd like to present them with the awards, and then if they'd like to say something, so we can. This one is for Zachary. Silver Medallion of Gallantry, highly commended to you, Zachary Schindel, in recognition of your exemplary acts of bravery, presented on September 15th by Sheriff Timothy Wills on behalf of the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office. This is for Tony. Civil Medal of Gallantry, highly commended to Tony Tamaro. Recognition of your exemplary act of bravery, presented on September 15th, 2020, by Sheriff Timothy Wills on behalf of the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office.
The only thing I want to say is I'm grateful we're both there. We can make a difference and we save somebody's life.
Yeah, just right place, right time, one right thing. Glad we managed to get them out.
County board, I just have to tell you you are true heroes. It's not our sports people out in the field, but you guys are true heroes. We thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go down to resolutions. We're up, I should say. 7A is resolution number 11, 2020, 21, contract funding allocation, DHHS.
Now therefore be it resolved that the 2020 budget is amended a lot, allocating $13,310 to the Birth to Three Initiative Program, $25,000 to CST Grant Initiative Program, and $28,885 to the Kinship Program, and a reduction of $12,092 to the Nutrition Service Incentive Program.
The motion by Supervisor Gerald Murphy and a second by Supervisor Janet Lear. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That motion is approved. On resolution number 11, resolution number 12, 2020-21, FFCRA and CARES funding, DHHS.
Now therefore be it resolved that the 2020 budget is amended, allocating $639,454 to the public health, $175,614 to the aging program, and $3,000 to child welfare.
The motion by Supervisor Lair, second by Supervisor Zog. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Number C is resolution number 15, 2020-21, comp plan amendment, Town of Union.
Now therefore let it be resolved that the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors adopts an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan map as originally adopted in ordinance 45 and has been from time to time amended as follows. Please see attached documentation.
Motion by Supervisor Quisman, a second by Supervisor Nygaard. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion is carried and approved. Resolution number 16. It's a donation acceptance by the DHHS.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors accepts the Gusmer Enterprises Department of Health and Human Service donation in the amount of $6,433.
It's a motion by Supervisor Moore and a second by Supervisor Lair. Any questions? Yes. Vice
Which
Chair.
line, is it specified for anything specific or which line item are they using?
It's restricted of accounts until further budgeted action is taken on the expenditure of fund according to the resolution.
Okay.
I don't know if Ted is in the room too.
I can speak to that.
Oh, Erica is.
The donation was made in support of the Healthy Beginnings program in public health.
Thank you, Erica.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that resolution number 16 is approved. Number E is resolution number 17, 2020-21, use of force.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors. It has been the longstanding policy of the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office to prohibit the use of excessive force against any individual, including individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations, as reflected in the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office Policies 300 and 426. It is the policy of the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office to enforce policies 300 and 426. It is the policy of Waupaca County to enforce all applicable existing state and local laws, including those state and local laws against physically barring entrance to or access from a facility or a location which is subject to the to such nonviolent civil rights demonstrations within Waupaca County's jurisdiction. The Waupaca County Board of Supervisors resolves to support the Waupaca County Sheriff in implementing this resolution, continuing to enforce applicable Waupaca County Sheriff's Office policies as necessary to gain compliance with the requirements of receiving a CDBG block grant funds.
There's a motion by Supervisor Craig for approval. And a
I'll
second
second.
by Supervisor Vice Chair Holman. Any questions or discussion? Yes, Supervisor Boyer.
I have a problem that it doesn't say use of excessive force, it says use of force. So what? You're not allowed to use any force?
To Diane, this person.
That's a good question. Use of force is the actual title of the policy. And within the use of force policy, it talks about degrees of force, including excessive force. So it's within the document. It addresses appropriate, reasonable levels of force and engagement during certain situations with the public.
Did that answer your question, Supervisor Boyer?
Yes, but what is this tied to?
Sorry,
But it was tied to.
what is it tied to? So the law enforcement has had a use of force policy since the late 90s. And in the late 90s, September of 96, we first started getting community development block grant funds. And at the time of the application for the funds, the county board was supposed to adopt a resolution following acknowledging the use of force and implementing a use of force policy if one didn't exist. So again, Dave Teal, on behalf of the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation, is going to apply for community development block fund grants for a broadband project using $464,000 of our revolving loan fund that we transferred to the Economic Development Corporation. And this resolution is a requirement of the grant application. So the resolution formalizes the fact that the county board it has within its law enforcement department, the sheriff's office, a use of force policy that addresses excessive force, and it addresses everyone, and it also then encompasses nonviolent civil demonstrations within buildings. So it's connected to the grant application. So that's why we're doing it now. There's nothing happening in our community that is the flashpoint of this. It is for the community development block grant application.
Thank you, Diane. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Just so you all know, my battery went dead on here, but that's the only thing that died up here. Just so you know,
Need a new battery?
not today, I don't think.
Okay, because I have one.
I'll just talk really loud. We'll go down to ordinances 8A 2020-710, amendment to chapter 34, petition number Z-019-20. Town of Dayton, James Jr. and Becky Kilty for a zoning map amendment from AWT district to RR district, an approximate 7.4 acres. There he is already. Morning, Ryan.
So the Kilties are looking at doing a land division on this property. In order for them to be able to do that, they need to rezone from AWT to rural residential to give them additional development rights.
Here's a motion by Mr. Moore for approval, and a second by Mr. Fedowitz. Question or any questions to ask?
Zoom thing here.
It's not a question, it's background noise in the.
Let's get started. Anyhow, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll go down to B. 2020-711 amendment to chapter 34, petition number Z-020-20, Town of Union, Irvin, and Irene Schmucker for a zoning map amendment from PBRF district to RC-G district, approximately 1.35 acres.
Yes, the Schmuckers are looking to establish a new business on this newly created parcel. And in order for them to be able to do that, they need to first rezone that new parcel from PBRF to rural commercial general.
There's a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Zob. Do you have any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Item C. A 2020-712 amendment to chapter 34, petition number Z-021-20, Town of Caledonia, Greg and Teresa Thayer for a zoning map amendment from a PBRF district to AWT district at approximately 12.04 acres.
This rezone petition was actually initiated by the Planning and Zoning Office to fix an error that occurred on their permit card. The lot line setback in PBRF is 20 feet, and when they built their structure, they built it within the side yard setback, or they built it within that setback. And so on the permit card, it had written 15 feet, and the actual setback is 20 feet. And so in order to solve this problem, we initiated a rezone petition, worked with the town on this. It was consistent with their comprehensive plan. And so it made sense for them to go to AWT, which has a setback of 15 feet, which brings their property or brings their structure into compliance.
Super. There's a question. There's a motion by Supervisor West, the second by Mr. Nygaard. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just have to also give a quick thank you to Ryan Braun. I got a great letter from the chair of the East Central Region Planning Commission, thanking Ryan for his beautiful work in selecting our new executive director of East Central Region Planning, and also making the courthouse here feel like home when you came in to do some interviews, whatever. They're just so happy about the treatment Waupaca County Courthouse people gave them, and Ryan Brown's tremendous help. Thank you, Ryan.
Dave Teal will be coming up. It will not be an adoption, sir.
You said Dave Teal's coming up?
Yep, Dave will come up. It won't be an
yeah.
adoption, but he'll explain the citizen participation
He
plan.
was hiding. I never
I
saw
don't
him.
have an agenda with me, sorry, I didn't see that I was next.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Dave.
The public participation plan in front of you is really just for you to look at and maybe any discussion today. So I messed up here. There's a resolution that goes along with this that needs to be passed. We had passed one back in '96. That was before Department of Administration was running this program, and so they wanted it updated. And then I also found another document that needs to go through Finance Committee. So I'll do that next month, and then you guys can go resolutions and another document. The October meeting, and if all is approved, then I will probably hold a public hearing, or you will appoint the committee members that we took off the agenda to. This public hearing in early November, and I'll get the application into the state at that point in time for the broadband project. We're still finalizing the map locations for potential towers. So we'll be doing that also over the next month here. So we'll run everything by the state before make sure I don't miss anything because I still have a little time. It's the end of January when the actual applications have to be in by. So it takes them about a month to review. So I have the time to get this all done. So, but that's why we pulled the committee members off today's agendas because we need the resolution to go along with that plan that you're looking at for approval. So not asking for approval today. If there's any questions today, I'd be happy to take them. If not, if you have any after the meeting, email me or call me and let me know. So,
Any questions right now? Okay, thanks, Dave.
thank you.
David? Okay, now we're down to the UW extension impact. Sandy?
She is via Zoom for us today, so
Oh,
I
there
will,
she
I
is.
will pin her up here so you can see her. There you go. Are you, I think you're muted yet. I don't see you muted, but I don't hear you. Nope, still can't hear you, Sandy. I'm gonna hit mute and unmute and see if that does anything for us. All right, can you unmute yourself now? No, I still can't hear you.
Okay, I changed my microphone.
There, you're there, you're there.
Might be as clear. I had to check my headphones. But anyway, well, good morning. I'm Sandy. I am the Human Development and Relationships Educator for Extension. And I'll just be highlighting the extension impact that you received. So on the front page, it's me, and I just talk about how we, as Extension, we respond to emerging issues. And as you're all well aware, the pandemic was something that just kind of came unexpectedly. So one of the things I did was connect with different leaders. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, connecting with different leaders in the community with a coffee hour, just to keep everyone on the same page, because I think there was so much going on back in March that most people were in these silos. And so together as a group, we just for support for each other. We brainstormed different ways we could help each other's organizations. And we also collected some data, and I shared small highlights of some of that data there. We just sent out a survey to parents, community members, and this survey was distributed to all the different cities in the county. And yeah, and some of the things that unsurprisingly, many people reported a drop in income. A lot of people were just concerned about the various stressors that or getting the virus or health concerns. And another emerging issue was that people just felt frustrated. I think the pandemic brought upon a lot of divisiveness. And so, and also, yeah, I think the last part that kind of got this group thinking was that a quarter of the participants didn't really feel knowledgeable about the different situations in the community. So from that group, we came together and we're going to be offering, starting next week, if you'd like to join, these warning minutes, a way to offer education and connection opportunities based on the responses from the surveys. And it will be covering topics like helping your kids go back to school in a virtual kind of setting. There will be some financial pieces, some mindfulness, and it will be hosted by me, but I'll also have other experts like school counselors and stuff to help me to guide those kind of conversations. And the next thing on the next page is for H. Yeah, we can do whichever. Yeah, we can do leadership. Yeah, so food wise. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is food wise. And I think they did a good job with adjusting. Normally every year there's an annual farm to table, and it's a huge event that really brings the community together. And it's about getting people to try local foods, get to know the farmers, and in a short turnaround, they turn it into like a curbside event, so that people can still be connected, especially because in this time, connection and having a routine is so important. And they got pretty good feedback on it. And this was in partnership with Living the Waupaca Way, a local coalition. And Christy is kind of coordinates that. I'll talk about actually if you go up and to the right, that would be yeah, so for 4-H, Penny's our 4-H coordinator, and in response to COVID, she, we all kind of had to brainstorm different ways we could still offer programming with like schools being closed and parents being at home. And this is available on the website if you're interested, and it's free. She wrote like a weekly newsletter about with like different activities, recipes, and also reflection questions. So the youth can still feel connected to 4-H. Adults and volunteers can still stay connected. And they're available online. And yeah, people also had a good response to it. And she's continuing to do some of those. And last but not least, if you scroll to the left a little bit, is one of our big programs, our community development educator normally has in-person cohorts for 9 or so months to help build leadership in the community. And that, of course, this year had to be rethought. And one of the benefits of mostly telecommuting is being able to work with other counties to collaborate. So she'll be offering 2 major programs that are leadership based. They'll just be shorter and look a little bit different, but with the same kind of core concept of leadership. And one of them is it's just kind of like leading during times of change. And it's going to be marketed to Waupaca and Greene counties. And I believe there's still, I had to check, but I believe they still are like accepting, they're still accepting applications. So if you're interested in taking part in Leadership Waupaca in this new virtual kind of way, I invite you to join. And the second program is pretty exciting. It's going to be a program delivered in Spanish. And, extension, we like to kind of think about underserved audiences, and audiences aren't always reached. So that has been a really great opportunity for they will be starting at the beginning of next year. And yeah, all this information is available online. And I think also in the impact report, there's our website. So if you want to follow up with any of us or have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us, reach out, ask questions.
Any questions?
Question.
Yes, Supervisor Gray.
I didn't get the handout that you talked about, so when will it be available?
That was put on the more section last night, and I just got it last night. So it just put on the more section, so it is on the website now under the county board packet.
And then the second question is, are the extension people all virtual and working from home, or when are you in the courthouse?
Well, we're staggering. I think we have different protocols, so we're not exceeding capacity. For me, I go in every Friday, and I think Christy goes in on Tuesdays, and I think everyone has a different day. But if we have like programming, we have to get it approved by our area director. So I think right now we're mostly telecommuting, and I have been to we did have a, so I don't know about my colleagues. I know that I've been to like one in-person thing, because it was outside and there were safety precautions in place. So it was approved. We just have like a procedure so that we're still doing all of our work while having access to like our space, because internet connection is better at the courthouse and that stuff too. And I'm doing a lot of programming in the fall, and I might be going in the evenings. I know Penny, I've seen Penny a few times. Like our support staff is always there. So if you want to stop in for pamphlets or anything, like we have our support staff there every day. With my colleagues, we just kind of stagger our time. So we have time where it's not like too many people at once in the office.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Sandy? I guess not. Thank you very much, Sandy, for a great report.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go down to our finance director. Ms. Heidi Dabrowski's in the building today.
Up right away.
Pardon?
You want that PowerPoint up right away?
Sure.
Good morning.
Morning.
Lots of information to give to you today, so we'll try to get through it as efficiently as possible. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Wanted to let you know, we'll be providing you today with your annual financial report, which you would find on your desk. This is your copy for you to review at any time. It's also posted on our website, so the paper copy is a little bit much for you. You can leave that, and I can put it back in my office, or you can take it home. Also, on your desk is the proposed 2020 annual budget, and in that document is also a summary of the capital improvement plan. That document in detail is also posted on our website. I sent out an email to all of you last night, giving you those links. If you want a detailed copy, feel free to reach out to me, and I will get you a printed copy of that version. Lastly, there's a lot of numbers here, a lot of information, and I just want to make sure that even though I'm the one up here presenting to you, there's a lot of staff and time that goes into providing these numbers in our department, in the finance department, highway department's finance unit, along with health and human services financial unit. And as far as, as long as the department has committees of jurisdiction. So although I'm presenting this information, I just want to make it known that it's all of your information, and there's a lot of work that goes in behind these numbers as we put it all together. So just starting out with the 2019 annual financial report, I'm just going to provide you with a PowerPoint presentation that was given to Finance last Wednesday. We have representatives here from Clifton, Larson, Allen to present the audit results with the Finance Committee. So I'm just going to review that same information with you as a county board. Oh, I got to turn it on.
I thought I did. It might be.
You did, but I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in your information, there is some required communications. We have what the auditor's responsibility is under the generally accepted accounting audit standards. Their primary responsibility is to provide their opinion on the fairness of the presentation of the financial statement, review internal controls, risk-based audit approach, And based on the internal controls, determine scopes and test the transactions. We test a lot of transactions when they're here at the county, and then they express opinions based on those tests. So in the 2019 annual financial report, we also included now a GASB statement number 84, and that is implementing fiduciary activities, which is basically the county holding funds on behalf of another entity or individual. That those custodial funds in the past have been reported in either the general fund or Health and Human Services Fund. Those have now been pulled out to give more fairness to the actual funds itself. So this would, for example, we collect taxes on behalf of municipalities. Those are custodial funds. Those funds have been now transferred over to a separate fund, along with inmate balances and other custodial funds in Health and Human Services. There are some other judgment or other information that the auditors look at, and they really look at our accounting estimates to make sure that they are reasonable and supported. In those estimates, we have useful lives of capital assets, IBNR, incurred but not reported insurance liability, accumulated sick leave, accrued revenue and human services department, Wisconsin retirement pension liability, and the fair value of investments. And they have determined that those are all reasonably stated within the financial statements. There was no disagreements with management through their audit, and they and there's a management representation documentation within your annual report to show what was included in the management representation letter. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit, they reported that management was very cooperative and helpful, and personnel and records were all made available. There was no material adjustments, and there was no uncorrected misstatements. The financial statements are unmodified or a clean opinion. Just want to back up as far as during the audit process. The preliminary audit is normally done in October or November of the fiscal year. That's where they come and meet with departments and talk to them about their internal controls, how they handle their processes. The final audit occurs in May, early June. And of course, with COVID-19, we had to do most of that remote, and that process went very smooth. We were able to provide them all the information that they needed. They were here at some times during that process, but a lot of it was done remote, and we were able to provide everything that they needed for that final audit. Summary of the audit results. There was no issues noted for compliance reporting over financial reporting under governmental auditing standards. We did have some best practice recommendations, and this is the same recommendation we would have seen last year. So when it comes to our health insurance and workers' compensation, we are self-insured. And so we have a reserve in the general fund for both of those self-insured insurances. The health insurance continues to have actual reserve much higher than what the optimal reserve is from what the auditor's viewpoint is on this. We were made aware of that in 2018 audit in the fiscal year 2019. So when we established the 2020 budget, we actually dropped our health insurance premiums by 7%. And then we're maintaining that premium moving forward in hopes to draw down that reserve a little bit more so it becomes more in line as to where the optimal reserve would be. So that is one of the recommendations. It's going to take a while to get this drawn down to where, so you might be seeing this a few years moving forward, but our hope is that we can eventually align those two so that those bars are a little bit more in favor of what the optimal reserve would be. The second item is our workers' compensation reserve. You can see that in 2019, it looks like it came more in line, and it did. But what we did in 2019 under their recommendation in 2018 is we recognized $1.2 million of revenue in the general fund. Though that revenue source has been assigned for future workers' compensation premiums. So even though the reserve now is more in line, we do have an assigned fund balance of 1.2 million in the general fund to support those and future premiums for the workers' compensation program. Fund balances. This is what everybody's always looking for. So the major fund, governmental fund balances, actually we're looking at, we'll start at the general fund. The unassigned general fund balance represents about 33% of the total general fund expenditures at $8.7 million. This is $766,732 over our policy of 25% of the general fund revenues, or that represents 27% of the general fund revenues. If you go up one more, the assigned fund balance of 1.7 million, that would include the 1.2 million that I was just talking about for the workers' compensation premiums. Overall, the other governmental funds are showing a healthy fund balance, and the total in the governmental fund is almost 18.2 million. So the reserves are well on the governmental fund balances. Oops. The proprietary fund is an enterprise fund and for the highway operations. Looking at their cash flow is more of an impact than what their actual net operations is. The cash flow from their operations was about $1.9 million. And we levied and transferred in or out about $1.4 million. Their interest earned and debt payments were approximately $2.4 million. The net cash, excluding the capital acquisition and sales for 2019, this was when we were building the highway facility project. So most of their capital asset acquisitions were paid from the bond proceeds. It was approximately $0.9 million. The highway operation continues to have a positive cash flow. But it is important to continue to monitor and balance highway cost pool performance along with the transportation services need. Change in that position was about $871,000 approximately, and depreciation accounts for a little over $1 million in expenditures for the highway operations. Moving forward, we do have another GASB implementation, GASB 87. Due to the COVID-19, the effective fiscal years was supposed to begin after December 15, 2019. They've extended that now to begin after June 15, 2021. We continue to evaluate what that's going to look like for the county, and then we will be sure to have that implemented starting after June 15, 2021. The other note that they want to make is that the COVID-19 pandemic, we really don't know what the effects of that will be on operations, but we are trying our best to get through and make sure that we are maintaining and tracking those expenditures and capitalizing on any revenue that we can on that process. That was a pretty quick overview for a very large document. Does anybody have any questions or concerns regarding that process?
Supervisor Nygaard.
I just want to compliment Heidi and the department on that excellent review from the auditor. Good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not,
If you look through the book and you have any questions or want to come and visit me and talk through any of the numbers that you see, please feel free to do that. And I'd be more than happy to sit down with you to talk you through anything that may be a question for you. No. Okay, so my PowerPoint note with my notes is back in my office, but I'm gonna get through this, I promise you. So now I'm gonna move into the 2021 capital improvement, 2021 to 2025 5-year capital improvement plan. As you know, it's a policy of the county board that we adopt a 5-year capital improvement program. It's updated on an annual basis, and the first year of the CIP is appropriated as the county's capital improvement budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So on October 27th, we will be presenting a resolution for the approval of the plan that I'm submitting this morning. The 2021 budget, this is a comparison of the 2020 budget for capital and debt versus the 2021 to 2025. You can see that in 2020, we budgeted 11.1 million in capital expenditures in debt service. In 2021, that increases to 11.8 million. And then it drops a little bit moving into 2022, 2023 goes back up. And then 2024, we have it jumps significantly. That's when we are anticipating the courthouse expansion project that we're still working through. The details of that, but that portion would be funded by anticipated bond or debt service. And then 2025, we're back down to about 11.8 million. You can see all the different funding sources that we have within the budget to help offset these costs. You can see the net levy remains fairly stable from 2020 over to 2021. 22 drops a little bit. 23 we have a little bit of a hike. So we're going to have to start looking at some of those projects in the 2023 budget to see what we can do to minimize the impact on the capital projects.
Yes, Supervisor Boyer.
I'm having difficulty seeing the numbers up there. Can I find them in the book?
The PowerPoint presentation is not in your book.
Can you make the screen bigger, Joe?
I cannot, that is all I can do with that. We can get you a copy after the meeting. Would that be okay, Joy? Okay.
Supervisor Boyer, in the back of your book is the capital improvement plan summary. And although it doesn't exactly follow the presentation, it will help support the numbers that are on the presentation. That's helpful? So ultimately, the net levy for the capital outlay and the debt service is remaining stable between 2020 and into 2021. And then we have some, again, impact that we'll have to address moving forward into the next 3 years. One of the biggest stories that we have for 2020, of course, is the completion of the highway facility project. I know the actual completion and move-in was in 2019, but the funding for that highway facility project actually completed in 2020. So overall, when everything was all said and done on this project, we had about $1,021,000 remaining of unspent bond proceeds on the highway facility project. That's a good problem to have. When you issue debt service and you have unspent bond proceeds, you're required to take those unspent bond proceeds and apply them towards your debt service payment. So the 2020 debt service payments for the highway facility project were actually funded with a portion of them were funded with the unspent bond proceeds. So ultimately what happened was the 2020 tax levy that we had to pay for the debt service, we had about $1,016,000 that we had over levied then because we had the unspent bond proceeds to apply towards that debt service payment. Now that's one-time revenue. So what we're going to be recommending is taking that $1 million and transferring it from highway operations, that levy, portion of that levy, over to capital projects, and that's going to help support some of our capital improvements moving forward. And I'll explain that more when I get further into the presentation of how we plan to utilize that piece. The 2020, this 5-year plan, there was some changes as it was presented to you last year. In the county clerk area, there in 2022, we reduced that project by $316,000 down to $40,000. This county management system was going to help fund for new machines, for new voting machines for municipalities. Municipalities are purchasing those machines now, so that we do not have that. So that portion was removed. We're going to fund that in 2022. Register of Deeds area added 2 projects and it totaling $147,000 across the 3-year period. In maintenance area, 2023, $280,000 was added to replace the roof at the law enforcement center. Solid waste PTF area increased the hazard weight building addition by $20,000 in 2021. There was a truck scale kiosk and software upgrade for $25,000 in 2021. And a number of some of their projects were shifted out to future years to fund these changes in theirs. So theirs maintained pretty stable for 2021 as to what was presented last year. In 2024, they've added a semi-truck for trucking landfill operations. They're exploring the option of being able to do their own landfill operation, trucking their landfill operation. This is under contract right now. So this is something that's on their radar to evaluate and determine if it's something that's feasible moving forward to 2024 when that contract ends. In the Parks and Rec area, ATV park development at the county forest for $60,000 was added in 2021. And in 2024, their intention of replacement of an HVAC system at the park shop for $25,000. Again, Parks and Rec transferred projects and moved them around in order to keep their funding level about the same as what was presented last year in their 5-year plan. Law enforcement, we've had a little bit, few different things occurring in the law enforcement area. One of the situations that we're running into, or challenges, I should say, is the purchases of their vehicles. In order to get the vehicles in service in the year that they are needing them, they actually have to purchase those or order them in March or early spring, March.
By September.
Oh, by September? Okay, by September of the preceding year. The county board does not adopt the budget until November, so they're running into a timing issue where they aren't authorized to purchase the vehicles for the next year. But yet, in order to get the best pricing and get those vehicles on order, they would have to do that in September. So that what we're doing in the 2021 budget is purchase or levying for 2 years worth of vehicles. And then that will put them on a cycle where they have authorization so they can start that process in September of the preceding year. So then moving into the 2022 budget, we'll be back on a 1 year, but we'll be actually levying for the 2023 vehicle purchases rather than the 2022, if that makes sense. The other story that we have in law enforcement is they have added a construction of 911 communication center of $914,000 in 2021. Due to security issues and other issues within that area, they want to move that facility into the center area of the law enforcement center. This project itself, what we've, that's the transfer that we have from the Highway Operations Fund for the over levy in 2021. We are anticipating applying those funds to fund this project, or a portion of those funds to fund this project. Yes.
Some of us may wonder about the 911 communication center, the construction of it, and why. I think the sheriff could tell us it's very insecure right now. There's windows along it, and anybody that's going to come in and do a lot of damage to governments, they're going to hit the communication center right away. That puts us really out of business. And it's about time that we get it in a secluded area where it's protected and no one can get at it or in there. So that's my short explanation. Is that close enough, Sheriff?
You're exactly right. Most sheriff's agencies have the side of the building or in the basement.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. The third item that was changed for law enforcement is they had $175,540 in 2023 to fund building software for municipalities. They have removed that project. And then we had the Simco tower replacement and the tower microwave upgrade in 2020. We moved that to 2025. This was a fairly large project, and by bringing in the construction of the 911 communication system, we had to push that project out to 2025. We anticipate levying for that project for over the next 4 years, and then the final levy in 2025, which would then support the funding of that full project. So the actual expenditure would be occurring in 2025. And lastly, they added a Motorola spillman arrest form project of $25,460 in 2021. Highway construction projects remain fairly stable over the next 5-year period. Operating levy was actually reduced in the Transportation Services Fund for highway construction based upon we're applying the full amount of sales tax to highway construction for $569,594 increase. And they also have a local road improvement funds supporting their projects in 2021 of $555,046. So the expenditures are remaining stable, but they do have additional funding sources to offset their projects. Debt service payments actually decreased by $839,650. However, in the 2021 budget or 2020 budget, we had additional funding sources to offset the debt service payment by $1,171,965. Therefore, that means the debt service levy is estimated to increase $332,315 in 2021. Highway capital purchases, this is for their equipment, their vehicle and equipment purchases. They're funded through the recovery of their depreciation costs and machinery operation profits. So their capital equipment purchases do not affect the levy. They're funded through their operations. And you can see, we kind of did a little bit of a snapshot. I think these numbers are a little bit, possibly need a little bit more work to look at the outcome moving forward, but overall, that is how those equipment purchases are funded. Okay. Again, your capital improvement plan is in the back section of your book. The detail portion has been posted to the county's website. And if you have any questions regarding that plan, we will be bringing the resolution to the county board October 27th for the adoption of the plan to be inserted into the annual budget. Any questions?
Supervisor Dwayne?
I just want to make a comment. And I have discussed some of this along the way, but I think we really need to thank our head of our departments that they're willing to make some changes along the way. It's going to be so important to keep those capital improvements within those ranges if we want to give our taxpayers a level taxes going forward. Because you can see without that unused capacity this year, we wouldn't be able to do this. We really have to compliment our heads for working together, and it's not always easy because when you try to look out for 5 years, it's really tough. But my hat's off to all of them.
Thank you. Mr. Fedorowicz?
Any other questions, comments regarding the plan? Okay, I'll move to item 3. We're going to set a precedent here, and we're going to provide you a preliminary annual budget on September 15th of 2020. So again, hats off to department heads, committees of jurisdictions, all of the people involved in putting together the budget. This is actually the soonest I've had all the information available to provide to you. So this is gives you till a lot of time to review this information. Again, in my email last night, I provided you with a list of the department heads that you can contact if you have any questions regarding the budget. So hopefully we can get through this and give you some good information today and moving forward. Starting out, we have some important dates to want to point out. Again, we're presenting to you today the 5-year capital improvement plan along with the 2021 proposed budget. On October 27th, that'll be the official reading of the 2021 budget. Along with there'll be the resolution adopting the 5-year plan, any new and expanded position requests, and any market adjustments to the wage schedule. November 10th of 2020 will be the public hearing on the 2021 budget, along with the resolution adopting the 2021 budget. In addition to those dates that there's, committees of jurisdiction will be continuing to meet, along with the finance committee meets, had those dates written on my slide. It'll be the second Wednesday in October and the first Wednesday in November. So a few more opportunities to take a look at the budget to see if there are any more changes or adjustments that need to be made. Overall, what I have up on the slide presentation is the preliminary tax levy capacity. And if you want to, I'm sure this kind of gives you information on page 13 to the 2021. So the operating capacity actually increased 1.09%. So that's a $260,375 increase from the 2020 budget. In addition, we talked about the debt service levy. The debt service payments actually are approximately $840,000 less than what they were in 2020. However, the unused capacity increases that levy to $332,315 or 8.19%. Another adjustment that the county is allowed for on the levy limit worksheet is for refunded or rescinded taxes. This adjustment actually increases our capacity, the levy limit in the subsequent year. So that we're estimating right now at $12,184. This number is not certified by the state until November 15th. So this is a number that we don't know until they send the county treasurer information as far as what they received, but the actual certification we do not receive until November 15th. State special charges increased $207, and the library aids increased $52,381. Overall, the total levy capacity that the county has available is $657,462 increase from the previous year, for a total levy of $29,049,930. This is a 2.32% increase over 2020. Equalized value increased 2.57%, which means the tax rate is actually decreasing 0.24% or 0.0164 cents per thousand of value. If you look on the side, we've used this illustration before, the median home value in Waupaca County is $142,300. With this scenario, a taxpayer with that home value should expect to pay $2.33 less in 2021 as it did in 2020. There's a summary of the equalized value reduced by 10. You can see what each total is by municipality type. That information in detail can be found on page 15 of your proposed annual budget for each municipality. Where did this change come from? Let's see, oops, I jumped ahead. Analysis of the change on the operating impact, we're estimating a $592,690 increase to the operating levy. The interest on investments, we had a revenue reduction anticipated of $295,000. Current interest rates on investments has dropped significantly. So that has had operating levy impact of $295,000. We applied $197,581 of the $1.2 million sitting in the assigned fund balance for workers' compensation premiums to offset that increase. I'll explain that more in detail the next slide. Step adjustments, personal service adjustments, I should say, the step increases, and then some schedule adjustments, moving some employees from 7.25 to 8 hours. That adjustment was about $270,924 increase. We're proposing a 1% market adjustment on 1/1/21. That expenditure is $170,593 in the governmental funds. That's the impact to the levy. We also have some position changes that had a negative impact of $97,145. And we also have a negative impact for county paid benefits, health insurance premiums, life insurance, those things. So there was a reduction in the budget by $35,069. So the total net impact of the personal service adjustments was about $309,303 to the levy. Contracted services, this one gets us a little bit. We're seeing some increases in some of our contracted services line items. Most significantly, or most is the maintenance contracts for our IT area is increasing about $65,430. The judicial circuit court contracts increased $25,300, and then of course we've got the contracts with the jail inmates area, about $31,693. This is about a 3%, I think we estimated an increase on those. That's $122,000 impact. Our last impact that we're anticipating in 2021, market adjustments for property insurance is estimated to increase 25%. So we have implemented that into the budget, and that's about $50,564. This isn't everything. There's, you know, line items all over the place that have changed. These are the things that I have recognized within the budget document that I feel that have impacted the levy increase in 2021. Interest on investments. I want to talk to you a little bit about this as we talked about how interest, we're losing that revenue source, or a large majority of that revenue source in 2021. We're going to see some sort of a situation in 2020 as well. We're estimating about $150,000 revenue collection reduction as compared to what was budgeted. Interest rates are not going to be increasing in any time in the near future. But what I wanted to talk about was that if you look at the trend, when you go back to 2010 and 11 and 12, you can see how our interest collection, interest on investments, how that had declined, but then it rebounded. So utilizing the almost $200,000 for workers' compensation premiums, we would anticipate that over time, as interest on investment starts rebounding, we'll be able to start supporting that back into the operations, if that makes sense. And that would give us about 6 years worth to rebound in that situation if we continue to use that same amount. So we're able to actually, so that's the kind of the story, and I wanted to give you an illustration of what that looks like so that you're comfortable with how we're utilizing that fund balance. County sales and use tax, you can see that it has continued to grow over a period of time. However, we're still kind of in this uncertain time about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on this revenue source. We're not, as a county, seeing large and any sort of disparity in that. Actually, our county collections for sales tax for 2020 have remained very stable. So we're very fortunate for that. There are some counties in Wisconsin that are really seeing a strong situation and losing this revenue source. Right now, we're anticipating that we're going to come in a little bit above budget in 2020 if everything maintains. We did not increase the budget for 2021. We kept that, we did continue to maintain that because it's just kind of an unknown at this time. We want to make sure that we don't extend ourselves for the 2021 budget. The full county sales and use tax has been applied to the Transportation Services Fund to fund highway construction projects. This goes back to when we were issuing debt for highway construction. We were issuing about $4 million per year. So instead of paying for the debt service, we've now put this into the actual construction of the projects and not paying interest on that. General transportation aids, again, increased fairly significantly from 2019 to 2020. We have not received the estimates for the general transportation aid for 2021. So that budget we have remained at the 2020 budget amount. So there has been no change in that area as well. Again, personal services, all employees may advance one step placement per year, subject to a performance evaluation that meets expectations. That has been put into the budget. The 2021 budget recommends a 1% market adjustment to the current step structure. And again, we did utilize a fund balance to cover for the workers' compensation premium. Position changes. The position changes in 2021 are in the Health and Human Services area. The FTE net is really zero, and when it comes down to the FTE count, So the total cost increase for their positions was $32,044, and which most of that is in the environmental health specialist, where that is covered by fees. And so that the FTE count is not changing. I want to just make one note of clarification or whatever on this situation as well. Not listed on the position changes, the Health and Human Services Department along with their board in 2021 are not funding the deputy director position. However, that position is not being requested to be pulled from the organization chart. They just want to reevaluate and look at that in 2022. So that position is not budgeted for, and after reevaluation and a determination, we'll see if that position comes off the org chart or goes back or stays on and is filled at a later date. The only program change that we have in 2021 is in Health and Human Services. The Division of Medicaid Services is moving the Children's Long-Term Support Waiver Program to the state level budgeting. So ultimately what that means is we're not recognizing revenue and an actual offsetting expense in Department 30. That department is actually called CLTS WPS TPA. We were required to track all of that information, even though the funds weren't being in and out. So ultimately, it's just removing that department because that's being handled at the state level and pulled from us having to report that information. Net change in fund balances, we don't have. We have a few changes. In the general fund, the jail improvement fund has revenue of $57,000, which has to be restricted. So that's an increase to the jail improvement fund balance. In the Health and Human Services, the sanitarian area, that is also a restricted area. So they're utilizing $443 in that of their restricted funds to support that program. The recycling area is increasing their fund balance by $1,088. That just really has to do with some changes at the end here with not charging back the workers' comp premiums to the programs that their revenues exceed their expenditures. So we're going to restrict those. We'll be restricting those funds. We're utilizing for the workers' compensation premium, $197,581. For the election program, I say this every year, but we try to stabilize the levy impact to the elections based upon how it fluctuates. So we're restoring $32,865 in the elections area. And then again, in the capital projects, we're utilizing $914,000 to fund the capital project of the 911 center. Those funds are not available until the county board authorizes us to transfer those funds. That levy from one organization or from the highway operations over the capital improvement fund. Debt service, our debt service outstanding is $28,710,000 as it will be at the close of 2020, and it actually already is because we've made all of our principal payments in 2020. Again, the story here is our debt service is continually dropping, and we're looking at that 2024 to 2025 where that the 2014 issue will be paid or will be fully paid. So the only one outstanding will be the highway facility building bond. That is at the point where the county board through the finance committee will have to have some discussion as to how, do we want that to drop off or do we want to consider borrowing for a courthouse expansion, security enhancements, those kinds of items. So ultimately, we're all got our eyes on the 2024 to 2025 era where we can see that last debt service for the construction annual capital improvement plan drop off. We have a number of policies as it relates to debt service. I just want to just pinpoint on a couple of them. Excuse me, I'm getting dry. So we have a direct debt burden policy, and the county's current outstanding debt is 0.65% of the county's total equalized value. That our policy is that it be at 1.25%, so we're well below that policy. In addition to our debt burden per capita is $548, and our policy is at $575. So we're below that policy as well, which is good. Payout over 10 year, we want to pay off our debt principal, 80% of our outstanding principal over a 10-year period. The percentage of expenditures for debt service, we're at 6.10% for the 2021 budget. Our target is 9%, so we're below that as well. And the tax rate, our policy targeted maximum tax rate is $1.50, and we're at 93 cents. So all of these policies have been met through the budget process, and that's a really good thing. It's a really exciting thing. We've done good things, so that's great. Again, just a graph to show you what that all looks like. This goes back to 2002, and you can see our spikes, and then we hit 2018, and then it continually drops off. This doesn't include anything if we would go, we would borrow in the future, but this is what our outstanding debt service looks like right now and what it has looked like in the past. So that gives you a really good snapshot of how that is. Again, the proposed annual budget along with the capital improvement plan in detail is located on our website, and I emailed you all a link to those on last night. But it's under our department, and you'll see it here, and that'll pull up the full budget book along with a detail of the capital improvement plan as it has been presented. So that's that piece. I just wanted to make sure you know that. And my office, you have my number, you have my email. Please feel free to contact me or reach out to me. There's a lot of information. The budget book in detail is 430 pages. So I can't go through 430 pages with you. So honestly, if you have a question or concern, I really encourage you to reach out to me, and I would be happy to sit down with you, social distancing, of course, and make sure we can get all of your questions answered.
How do you use that 24/7?
Well, you could have called me at 2 o'clock this morning. I was wide awake, but I wasn't here. Again, I just want to thank everybody. This has been, it's been a really good process this year. We still do have, Finance Committee is still going to be looking at this again in October, but it's just been really a good process overall with the department heads. It's just been great. So the capital improvement plan, the 5-year, I think we've always had the plan, but the formalized plan, I think this is our second or third year into that, and it just really helps to have that in place and have an understanding of what that's going to look like in the future and how we can set ourselves up best to fund that in the future. So I really want to thank everybody that is involved in this process. There's so many, I'm not going to try to name anybody specifically, but it's been a great process. So does anybody have any questions, comments in regards to this? What was presented?
I think they're coming after they look this all over.
Right, and for those of you on Zoom, we can make sure we have if you want your books and stuff, we'll make sure we get those to you as well. Okay,
thank you.
All right, thank you.
A couple of months ago, someone said to me, why don't you get up and give a report on your health, because people are worried about you. will appreciate people being worried. We all, at our ages, have something wrong with us, and will continue to do so, I'm sure. We all got different opinions about COVID, and I just had my third friend die yesterday at AMC, yesterday afternoon in the hospital, and 2 had died previous months before. I think in all I've had about close, I was counting them yesterday, 20 friends of mine come down with COVID, many in other counties, and most all came out of really fine, just like Mr. Dog did. And however, we all react different to it. So, but anyhow, for those of you that have been elected recently and don't know my history, I've been here a while. And in 2010, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had surgery in the valley, and a year later, they said I had cancer cells back, but they didn't know quite where to find them. They had to grow more. And that, when my first wife was ill, I had her at the Mayo Clinic. I decided to get a hold of my regular doctor and say, I want to go to Mayo's. And he got me in there in a matter of 2 weeks. Well, they found a cancer in a matter of 2 days. 2 days. We're down in Valdez, says we're going home. And guess what? It was in my bone already. How many people survive cancer when it's in your bone? Worse yet, it was in my thoracic cord, right next to my spinal cord. And Mayo started attacking with different things. I was never hospitalized there, but I go for my treatments and come back home about once a month. And it always came back the next year. So they tried a different treatment and went away and comes back in another year. So 2 years ago, they tried something altogether different, of putting me in surgery and putting prongs up into my spine area. And they fried those tumors, fried them. And it didn't hurt my spinal cord or the bone either. Where radiation crumbles the bone, and you couldn't do any radiation to the spine anymore because it crumbled right away. But this was something different, and went back 3 months later, year later, and it never came back, knock on wood so far. So that's where I am with that. My last report was 3 months ago. Cancer isn't that it's there. We know it's there, but it hasn't done any damage. However, that being said, I know a lot of you know I can't walk well, and I just want to tell you about that. I'm fine. I feel fine. I feel great. I'm still busy, and I still have a business, unless COVID takes it away in the next few months, because it is tough with a small business like mine. You're transporting people to their doctor's appointments already, and you can't get many people that wants to work in that, in my type of business. So it's tough. Thank God for the payroll protection plan the government came through with and bailed us out for a number of months of that. But anyway, I want to talk to you about my walking. 2004, I was diagnosed. They thought I had ALS, heaven forbid. And then they thought I had MS, multiple sclerosis. They ruled that out. And I got the least of all the problems. I got polyneuropathy. They don't know what really causes it. I even had Mayo look at it, and they said, we can't help you there. But polyneuropathy is the deadening of nerves from your feet right up your legs, and then it gets into your hands. And mine is not painful. Some people writhe in pain at night because that's so painful. Mine is not painful. It's numb. I can't feel my feet and all the way up to my knees. So, and it's really hard walking because you have no balance. Your soles of your feet talk to your brain about balance. And that's difficult. But I'm very lucky. So lucky. Can't complain. It could have been ALS. It could have been MS. It could be painful. This is nothing. So 2 weeks ago, my neurologist said, Dick, 3 months ago, I prescribed braces, and you never used them. I said, I don't want to use braces for crying out loud. Well, she said, I'm going to prescribe them again. I want you to put them on. 2 weeks ago, I put braces on from all the way on my feet up to my knee. and she had me walk and found out that it helped my balance, it helped my walking immensely, and told me to get rid of the cane as long as I could, because you're dependent on a cane. That's not a good thing. You're leaning on a cane. You're leaning on stuff when you walk. We don't want you to do that. We want to wean yourself into walking again. Well, that's all said and done, but the braces have helped a lot, even though they're 2,800 bucks. So I just want to tell you that physically I feel well. I feel strong enough to be your leader and always will at this point in time. I'm going to continue on. If some people thought I was really not very well, I am. A little grumpy, of course, because of my bit. You laughing, Fred? Just a little grumpy because of the times we are, COVID, and of course I have a business that's really drastically affected. But we're very lucky to have this nice room in the courthouse where we have our meetings, and Jill lines it all for us. So that's it for me. I just wanted to get it out there. If there's any questions, please ask me, rather than people talking outside saying, he's in bad shape. No, not really. I'm still hanging around. Thank you. Okay. Announcements?
Actually, we have one appointment first. I took away 10A, but I kept 10B.
Oh, yes, I'm
We're
sorry.
going to appoint Harry Joran, I believe, to a 3-year term as a citizen member to the Nutrition Advisory Council.
There's a motion by Gerald Murphy and a second by Supervisor Laird. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
For announcements, we have the WCEDC August report in your packet. And then a reminder that the county board is the last Tuesday of the month in October, so it's October 27th. So don't come on the 3rd Tuesday.
And with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Supervisor Laird to adjourn. And a second. No seconds. A second by Supervisor Yeager. We are adjourned. Undebatable. We're adjourned.